Right, so today we're going to be doing a sketchbook cover, and this is something that if you want to join in with and you've got a sketchbook that you'd like to draw a cover on, you're more than welcome to. So for today what I'm going to be using is one of the Royal Langdon's Essentials A5 Artist Sketchbooks, and this is a canvas cover type one, so if you listen to that, quite scratchy, very textured. And to draw on it, I was just going to use a normal Sharpie's permanent fine point. Now, with these canvas covers, even though you're drawing with a Sharpie, and I definitely recommend a Sharpie because it soaks in enough that the ink goes right in. It doesn't just sit on top. But if you over apply it, it will sit on top and you will get inky fingers. So that's just something to be aware of. Now, what sort of thing would I like this to look like? Well, if you've been watching my previous videos, you may have seen me working on this one. So it's actually still a little bit wet right now, and there's a reason behind that. But basically, this was one that I did probably about a week ago, and the front cover features ichthyosaurs, ammonites, and some prehistoric fishies. And then the back, you can probably actually see the sparkle now, has got different plesiosaurs. Is it plesiosaur or pliosaur? More marine reptiles with more fishies. And you probably just then saw there's a lot of sparkle there. So I coloured both sides of the canvas in Spectrum Noir markers. I use these because I wanted to get a really good colour saturation, and they're not my best pens, so I wasn't worried about the texture of the canvas actually wearing down the nib, which it actually will do when you're using a Sharpie. So my Sharpie here would normally be a lot pointed, a lot more pointed, but because of the canvas it does wear it down. So you just have to be very aware when drawing on canvas covers that you will need to watch the amount of pressure that you're putting into your drawing. So the sparkle, this was achieved also with a Spectrum Noir sparkle pen, the clear one. And then I went through and I got the sparkle spray, and this time I've got 3 of them. I've got the iridescent, which is like a pearl diamond. Then I've got the glitter, and the guys also managed to get me the silver, and it's the silver that I've actually used on this one. So I'm hoping you should be able to see quite a lot of areas here where it's really sparkly. Now the spray is still very tacky, and it is coming off a little bit. The spray does need quite a while to dry. I've put on 2 coats so far, and that's half an hour of each other. So the spray that I've been using, so she's just going to move that over there so I can stick it on that. It's the Spray and Sparkle by Crafter's Companion, and this is a pearl diamond one, but the one I had on the book is a silver one, and it's a hard wearing gloss varnish with ultra fine glitter. So now that I've given it 2 coats, it's going to have an overnight sit in a normal room, well ventilated, and then tomorrow I can apply another coat if I want to. And at first when you spray these canvas books you don't see the glitter go on, and then the more it dries the more shows, and then you get a really nice effect. But because it's a varnish, it means that when somebody buys this they're not going to have any problems with it if it gets wet and that sort of thing. Now something, I'm still sticking to it, something you might notice is this little lump here, and this is where a little bit too much varnish went on there, and what I've just done is taken off that piece where it had actually physically bobbled, and I can patch that up later. Right, so I'm going to unstick myself from the book. Yeah, you can see, and that's going to sit just on a piece of plastic while that's drying, and I'm putting it actually on its edge, which I know isn't a very good thing to do. Now normally I would put a little rail up, so even just a little piece of bamboo stretched across somewhere, and I would hang it just so that it dried without contact with anything. You can see my blue fingers there. Blue finger. Right, so just grab cloth. Yeah, whenever doing this, using the sprays, make sure that you've got something to wash your hands down with afterwards, otherwise you will stick to everything. So, this is our A5 book, and I do have this version in the A4 size, which is portrait again. But then, if you want to use it for landscape, use it for landscape. So, they come wrapped in this cellophane. Now, I got mine at discounted price because the company I bought from, which was Ryman's in the UK, had loads of bits like this all reduced. You're seeing how not to cut. So I bought loads at bulk value. Now I actually didn't know these were going to be canvas cover, so I ended up with one smooth cover A4, which has since done a run on me, and then I ended up with lots of the A5 and the A4 canvas backs. So at the same time I've ordered in a lot of black Sharpies because, like I say, because of the texture, you burn through them very, very fast. There we go, cellophane. Don't be surprised if you do order these online, if you do find a little bit of wear damage. I think you can see that line across there, and sometimes glue on them. Something about canvases. So on the inside of them, these are just plain white. It's not very expensive paper inside. That's why I bought them kind of lower price. I'm not paying through the nose for what looks to be very recycled paper. And this side is the canvas, so you've got the raw canvas, and then a little bit of this paper has been stuck onto there before it's been put through the comb binder, and that's actually bobbled there. So it's nice and thick, so if you're going to use markers or paints on this, they shouldn't bleed through, but you may need to take time between each layer just to let things dry. And if you're not sure if you actually don't know if it is going to bleed through or not, take a spare piece of card and just, even a normal card, anything, put it on that first page and make sure it comes all the way out, and that way if you do get any bleed over, it's not going to be so bad. Now, some people would say open up the book and work on it like that, and the reason I don't is because I always worry about that inside page touching something it shouldn't, and also I find it a bit of an odd angle. So what we'll do for the front cover is probably going to be a proper design, and for the back cover we'll do a little bit of freehand work. So I'm actually going to start with the back cover. Well, this is because it's in the UK, I'm in the UK, this would be my back cover, but depending on when you are, it will depend on which is your back and which is your front. So this is going to be a random design. You can draw on these with pencil, but they are quite hard to rub out. So, randomness. So I'm going to let the pen do work. So nice relaxed hand. And let's start with a simple swirl. Just tuck that in. You can probably hear a little bit of grating, and that's the texture on the canvas. And where there's gaps, I'm not worried because I can come back and over ink. So, just take that out. And join it, and literally just really nice, simple, relaxing swirlies. Doesn't have to be perfect, because nothing in life is. And you'll see my hand is actually hovering over the paper, and that's because I'm controlling it from the elbow, so my wrist is really nice and subtle, but I've still got enough tension there just to keep a little bit of control. And I can move my hand up the barrel of the pen to make the contact lighter. Let's go down here. I'm going to bring this into this corner. That's coming along. I'm just going to expand a couple of these. Now, because I'm using a Sharpie pen, I'm restricted on how fine a detail I can go. Especially because of the nib gets chunkier and chunkier the more you use it on these canvases. And let's see, I've got an idea. A random circle or oval. Another random oval. We're going to turn these into flowers. So depending on how many petals, you just want to do some stretched out ovals. I like to try and keep them as a kind of clock shape. And then I'm going to join this up to the pattern. So I can come through this side. And bring in some more little swirlies. And then I'm going to do the same idea here. Now this, even though it looks dry, is still a little bit tacky, so I don't want to rest my arm too close onto that. So sometimes what I do is I put a finger out and just use my finger as a secondary support. Or you can, as tradition, you can put paper under there, but it's what you're most comfortable with. So once again I'll do the kind of 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. Then a 1 and 2, 3 and a 4, 6, 8. And then once again, now I brought this one under and I'm going to do the same with this one. And I'm not duplicating the pattern 100%, but I'm just trying to keep a little bit of kind of pattern to it. So there's 2. So already that's changed. And when it comes down to colouring in, you've got areas kind of, so if you go around that swirligigging into it there, you've got kind of blocks of colour. Even though it looks like loose lines, there are blocks all the way through it. And if you're not sure, you can always join a couple up. Like so. Now next I think I need some lines in here, some straighter lines. So down here I'm going to bring out a curly line just there, and then from there I'm going to draw pretty much straight line. I'm going to put it past that curly line, and then I'm going to come down almost like I'm drawing a triangle through there. I'm going to do another line. There we go, some straight lines. And to add a little bit of difference, I'm then going to add a circle, or half circle, got a curve shape just here. And put in a couple of those. And in between this, let's see. So we've got a gap here to fill in. We've got a gap, kind of triangle shaped here. And then we've got a nice gap here. So I'm going to do another one of these flowers up here. So there's our oval. 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock. And you'll see it's slightly bigger. So it's those same shapes again. And the more you practice doing your shapes, the more confident you'll feel. And then this, I'm going to bring little curly willards up, but I'm going to put two together to join up. And just put some little side shoots out. Now I'm going to do another two flowers. I'm going to do one here and one over here, but they're not going to be fully on the page. So these three, you've got the full flower, and now we're going to do some kind of half and bit flowers. So you've got half a circle, and that's going to be the middle. And then you're only doing your 6 o'clock. You can hint at kind of half of the 3 and half of the 9. And then just add in those other leaves. And this one, I'm going to bring the curl into that flower. Now I just had a little idea down here, so really random. I'm going to do a straight line, and then a kind of curved line, another straight line, and then I'm going to do a circle and a little circle, and then in the middle another little straight line. So I put a little music note in there. And if you suddenly want to put something onto that drawing, that's kind of how you've got to let it go. If you feel there's a shape you want to add it. That's part of the creative and getting your imagination going. If you want to do a rainbow, you could do one anyway. You could do one coming across the back. So really loosen up and let your mind go free on doing something like this. It doesn't have to be perfect at the end of the day. It's a bit of relaxed time. So up here I'm going to do, let's do a circle here. So I have my little 3 o'clock and a 9 o'clock. And it doesn't hurt to go off the page. And I'm going to have a little tie there. One just joining up here. So that connects all of them. And one way or another they're all connected. So what I can do is once they've dried a little bit, I can add a little bit more detail. But for now I'm just going to find other spaces which you want to fill. It doesn't hurt to have blank space, so if you literally wanted to do a design like that, leave all these areas white and only colour in, say, those bits, go for it. So in this case, I'm going to add a little bit more detail. Now let's see. And you'll see some of the times the pen seems to bleed out because of the canvas texture, and other times it doesn't. There's some just blocks of black. Now, if I was doing this on a more smooth surface, I would probably be going in for a lot more detail. But this is a little bit of a limited palette. Just up here, I'm going to put a couple of solid black dots so that there's a little bit of continuity. Now I'm going to just put in a couple of lines in the middle of the flowers, but only in a couple right now. Now, if you're using the sharpest and you're going to colour with Spectrum Noir pens, it's probably best to do your outline, colour with the pens, and then come back in and work the detail. Now, you know what I was saying about my pen? You see that's even blunter now. So we're getting there, we're wearing it down. The reason I say colour first and then apply the pen is because the Spectrum Noirs, because of the alcohol in them, they do fight with the Sharpies, and you may get a muddy colour due to that. I know what I want to add here, but it's how to add it. Because I haven't sketched anything out on pencil. So I'm adding a little bit more organic material. And things can be as detailed and as loose as you want. So in the middle of that, there's a cat playing with some bells. But we add a third bell. Doesn't quite seem balanced enough. And up here. Now subject matter wise, you can draw whatever you like. So I'm just doing a couple of very, very basic bits like little butterflies, flowers. It's just filling in the page. Doesn't have to make sense at all. So another swirl, another leaf or two. So then just adding a leaf here and there, just to bring the image kind of together. I think my Sharpie's about to give in on me. Even a little fishy in the top. So that now turns the swirls into a much more organic item. And I'm just going to push these bits and put another layer on. Then I'm going to add a couple of little blocks of black around this bit. Nothing needs to make sense. And that's how I would go about doing a very, very loose background with just random bits onto the canvas backbook. So that is one side of the drawing. Now, as you saw in my other book, I'd prefer to have two different images, and that way it engages on two different levels. So that is randomness, and now we just need to tighten all of that up. So I can turn this over. Still really sticky from the varnish. Right, bear with me. Right, so what I'd like to get onto this piece is a much more detailed piece and something that makes more sense as an image. Now, my sharpest pen is actually nearly useless, so I have to get another one. I'm hoping this one's, well, it's blunt but not as blunt, so hopefully you can see they've really worn down. Now this time I am going to use a pencil just to map out very lightly where I want to go with this image. Now an image like that, apart from having the cat, you could have it landscape or portrait. So for this cover I'm going to try something a lot more detailed. So I'm going to have a think about very lightly. This is a H pencil. So I'm going to very lightly sketch in what I want. And for this I'm just using block shapes, pretty much no detail. So I've got a head, a couple of ears, neck, shoulders, arms. Think about the arm positions in a minute. Rib cage, lower lumbar, the hip and the lower leg. And a tail. So you could use a circle for your character's head. In my case I kind of use lots of straight lines. So that's my central piece, but what am I going to do for the background? I'm going to adjust my central piece so that it's a little bit bigger. This way, hopefully, I'm going to have a bit less background. So I've now taken the part of the character off of the page. So once again, taking the Sharpie, I'm going to very lightly, wrong one, that's a bit too blunt, it's got a bit more in it. So I'm very lightly going to just go and map out some of the detail. Now this side I want to be a little bit neater and not so random. And I've just made a little change there, as you can see. And some of the detail I'm going to keep quite simple. Other bits, I'm just going to make that a little bit more detailed. So it's probably not looking woohoo right now, but there's a lot of refinement that I can get into this image. So I noted my figure is pretty much standing on thin air, so I need my figure to stand on something. So have a think, what if you're going to do a character on a front cover of a book, what do you want the character to be doing? So in this case, balancing on a twig. And we'll just put in another wing. And because this wing's further away, there's not going to be quite so much detail. These aren't perfect wings, but this is just to get you thinking about how you'd like to approach a character. So let's see, we could have the side of a cliff and a horizon line, and then whatever I want over there. So there might even be some mountains. So what am I going to do to make this stand out and look less childish? So I'm taking a lesson from what we did on this side. It's going to be a combo of this kind of thing, but put into here, into the fox. So all of the detail is going to go into the fox, and the colour is pretty much going to be what brings and controls the background. So for this one, I'm going to have a go, a minimalistic background, high detail foxy. Well, flying fox, winged creature. Just add a couple more stray feathers. I know feathers wouldn't be there in real life, but right, so my tail. Gonna start with that nice swoosh shape that we did earlier, and the exact same one. And this time I'm just going to figure of 8 one, and that creates a barrier, so that is almost like one whole piece. So next I'm going to do some slightly curved lines, and then we can do some little back squares. Now you'll note that this time, instead of just curving them here and there, these ones are going to curve following the shape of the tail. And we'll do 3 layers of them. There we go. And then I can bring a V shape in. If I really want to be clever, I can actually break up through the squares. And then I can do the same facing the other direction to make a diamond shape. And I can just add random bits in here. Now I'm going to put a little bit of banding there and a black spot or two here. Now my Sharpie in this case is getting more and more blunt, so I may have to make a die for another one in a second. So for the hip area, now I'm going to actually draw in a lot of that hip. And take the knee and turn that into a swirl. And then that's where the kind of glutes would be. And just by doing a couple of random lines, that's going to define the leg. And if I do another swirl just on each of the joints, then that will help actually give a little bit of continuity to what the image is. So there's some swirls. Now for the ribs, we know they come up to here, so I can do a slightly different mark here. I'm going to bring a little bit of, try and get some finer lines in there. Now where I put in kind of the belly fluff, I can double that over. From this bit, where the shoulder is, we could do some leaves. And on the shoulder, you can do a flower. Slightly different flower from the other one. But up here on the neck, I can do a pointy flower. And I'm just going to dive for another Sharpie. That one is well and truly given in. That's why I buy Sharpies in bulk. Yep, so right, so for comparison, that's the point that my Sharpie had, and that's the point it's now got. I can still use them for colouring in block work if you like, so it's not completely gone. And see that difference in line? Exact same pen, just where they're worn down. I just wish they could stay nice and pointy forever. Makes such a difference. So just adding in a couple of little U's in there. And then I need a swirl down here, a swirl here. And I can put some just random line mark here. A couple of blocks of colour there. And so from having just an outline of a slight scrappy fox, now changed that and got a lot more detail in there. And yeah, changing the Sharpie pen has helped a huge amount. But it's using a lot of the shapes that we used on the other page, and that way you've got the continuity of when people see this page, they're going to say, oh look, there's a swirligig and a flower. And then they'll look on here and say, oh look, there's a swirligig and a flower. So it just makes sure people are familiar. I'll just put a couple of bits there. Add a little bit of detail. Now if I wanted to make this tail end thicker, all I've got to do is that. If I want to make it thicker still, I can do that again. In fact, I think I might. So that would be my initial design. Now the way that I would probably colour this is I would have the fox extremely bright colours, just so that it actually, so pardon me, breathing difficulty here, so that the fox would actually stand off of the page and catch the viewer's eyes. I would probably inject pinks and much brighter colours than I would normally use. And this way I could actually change the sky. I could have it as reds and yellows. Sorry, jeez, still getting over this cold. Right. I could have this as a plains area, or it could be grassland. So these things, when you're doing a doodle or having a bit of fun and doing some drawing, this is all things that you can have a think about. Do you have a favourite place that you like to go? I'm going to just add another tree limb here, because once you add the colour in, you can come back over and then add in more detail with the Sharpies. That's why in this case I'm not quite so bothered about how fine and detailed I've got it, because by the time I've got the colour on and come back over it, I'll be absolutely set. So there we go. So we've got one very sketchy, doodly light side, and then one side which has got more detail, more attention to detail in it. And in fact, I'm going to add a couple more branches. And if I wanted to, I could actually do a rainbow in the sky. You've got that option. So I hope that this has helped inspire you to go and get a couple of pens, a pencil, and have a go at just doing some loose hand drawing and getting a feel for just relaxing and doing randomness. Every drawing does not have to be an absolute serious piece of art. You do need to give your brain a break. If you're doing a lot of high detail work, I've actually got a commission coming up, which is a stuffy puppy, kind of mid-aged dog, and I know it's going to be a really stressful drawing. So by doing a drawing like this before I start on a serious commission, or after I've done a commission, or anything like that, it just means that I'm winding down my body, my brain, everything is relaxed. Because I've not had to overthink. I can just, I mean, if suddenly I want to do a purple unicorn dancing across the sky, that option's there. If I want to change something and make it uh, more loose, I can do that. If I want to tighten up the detail, that option is there. And in this case, I've just suddenly decided if I do lines along here, I do each line a different colour of the thing. So in this case, they would all be different types of green, different types of grey. Then I feel that would be a nice effect. And that would be quite different. I'm actually going to do some black spots here. And we'll do that bit there black and this bit here. Just so that stands forward. So, like I say, I hope this has inspired you to have a go out there, get creative, have some fun. Even if you don't have one of these little canvas book things, it doesn't matter. You can practice on any paper and just relax and enjoy it. Like I say, use it as an exercise to chillax if you want to, or use it as a warm-up exercise before you're doing a drawing that you really want to be able to concentrate on to. Get your body and your mind into it. I recommend relaxation music when doing this sort of thing. It honestly doesn't hurt. In fact, it's nice. I can't really recommend any, but there are many kind of meditative musics out there which help completely relax you, and even just normal trailer music can be very, very good for that, for getting the emotion into it. And remember, if you are listening to music, music is quite interesting when you're drawing, because it will affect the speed and the outcome of your drawing. So if you're listening to something gentle and relaxing, you're more likely to produce something soft. Whereas if you're listening to something upbeat, powerful, really driven, you'll note your speed will go up and your marks may become harder, so you'll be putting more pressure onto the paper. It's worth experimenting, seeing if you can actually find yourself doing those things without consciously realising you're actually doing it. So in this case, I'm just adding some clouds, even though I have no idea what I'm up to. There we go. Right, so time to put the pen down. So I hope that's given you some ideas what you can get up to. Don't be scared of blank page. The blank page is your friend. It's up to you how you use it, and you will find a way. So till next time, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a lovely time, and happy drawing to you all.